Hello again. We're back with Sega Rally Revo. This is a PSP title. It was released back in, about 2007, 2008. It was also a PC release. It was also released on the, I forget what generation it was, but the 360, Xbox 360, PS3 generation of consoles. So we're going to be doing the Premier class today. This game is split into three classes: Premier, Modified, Masters. Premier is the beginner level. For this, we're going to be using the Citroen Zara the whole way through with the dirt tyres. Yeah, we'll see where we get to. So this run has been brought down a lot recently after we found out that you could actually skip. Now, the tracks are different to what the PS3, 360, and the PC release are. So them three versions are one version. The PSP is entirely different. The structure's about the same, but some of the cars that are in this aren't in that, I don't think, and also the tracks are completely different as well. So this is being played on emulator, but we'll get into it first and foremost. So time will start here. So I'll start time in 3, 2, 1, go. So first things first. As I said, we're going to be using the Citroen Zara, and we're going to be using manual gears because they are the fastest. Now this run is a bit of a slow burner compared to Outrun, I'm not going to lie to you. Hopefully you guys all enjoy it. So we're going to be using the Zara because it has the best drivability. And I will just be honest straight away and say that there is a fair bit of wall riding in this. And also, if I could not get punted around, that'd be great. So the way Sega Rally Revo works, for those that are unaware, so you do circuit racing with rally cars. At the front, there is a car that you will win, providing you win a certain amount of races. Now this run mainly comes down to, to lap time and how consistent you are with lap times and your driving skill. So during practice for this, I brought my own record down by about 1.5 minutes due to good driving, but also better RNG and things like that. So you have several different environments. So you have Safari, Tropical, Alpine, and Arctic, I think. In this run, we are going to be skipping certain races, as I mentioned at the start. So the commentary, the guy that's doing the commentary, I forget what the guy is called. Broken Hybrid may be able to help me out on this one if he's here. But he also did the same commentary for Sonic, Sega and Sonic All Stars Racing Transformed, I think. And this was at the time when, so obviously Sega Rally started back in 1995. It got a second game in the late 90s, I think it was 1999. And then in 2008, I think it was, Sega Rally 3 released. Sega Rally 3 in the arcades came around the same time as this. So you had Sega Rally Revo that released in 2007, Sega Rally 3 which released in about 2008, and Sega Rally Online Arcade that also released around the same time. So yeah, it's not too bad. Now we will be going between races quite quick, and obviously you'll see me skip some races and things like that. So this makes it completely different to your regular Sega Rally games, this one. So this was more a case of circuit racing and the environments. Now, as I said before, you may be wondering why we're using the Citroen Zara. The Citroen Zara has really good acceleration, it has good drivability, and as a result, we're going to be using it here. Also, the sides of the the sides of the tracks do not give you any damage. So as a result, we're going to be using that and abusing the wall ride as best as we can, which is good fun. One thing to also mention as well, so the PSP version, along with I think the other versions, has an autosave feature. We actually have that turned off to save time, and if needs be, then I can always load a pre-completed save, and we can carry the run on regardless, because like I said, it's emulation. I already have a save file that's completed the Premier class, so we can go back. So for this category, as I said, it is simply doing just the Premier class and nothing else. You can do the other classes, the Modified and Masters class. Essentially, the way that the classes are split up, the Premier, the Modified, and the Masters, are all split up into essentially Novice, Intermediate, and Expert. Now, I'll be honest, Premier is by far the easiest, but the Modified is a bit more tricky because there are certain cars that are a lot more overpowered OP than other cars in that one. Masters, however, is where the big boys come out, and by the big boys I mean that's where you've got your classics like the Toyota Celica and the Lancia Delta Integrale, which you get obviously in Sega Rally 1, in the original Sega Rally Championship. But you also get other cars introduced, including the Audi Quattro, Peugeot 205, and surprisingly, out of other cars that are in this game, you also get the Lancia Delta ECV1, a concept car that was made by Lancia and that was supposed to be participating in the Class S. So for those that don't know their rallying history, in the 1980s, and again this kind of goes back but corresponds with Outrun and also just, you know, less gaming but more motorsport. In the 1980s, there was such a thing in rallying as Group B. Group B was 500 horsepower plus monsters that raced through the rallies, including the Audi Quattro, the Ford RS200, Peugeot 205, and the Lancia Delta S4. Other cars included the MG Metro 6R4, and most notably the Opel Manta 400, amongst many others. Citroën also ran their own Group B car called the BX4. The BX4 was not very good and was very unreliable. It didn't work too great in the championship and never actually scored any more than a few points. Nothing really much to complain about. However, whilst everything was going on in the background, something dark was brewing. So Lancia had the ECV1 because alongside, during the Group B era, there was a new rule set introduced. The rule set was Class S, a evolution of Group B. And, Group S, and it was an evolution of Group B. Now, Group B was 500 horsepower, four-wheel drive, all-wheel drive monsters. Well, some of them were. Class S, or Group S, was essentially supposed to go further than that. And in rallying, they have something called, well, I don't know if they still have it now, but back then they had something called homologation specials. And what a homologation special was in, when you had a rally car and you were making a rally car, what you were doing was you were told that you had to build a certain amount of cars to go with it. So in F1 you don't really have to, it's a prototype car anyway, so you don't have to make any road legal versions. But in British touring cars and in the World Rally Championship they had to make something called homologation specials. These homologation specials were essentially ones that the public could buy. If you couldn't buy them, then they weren't legal and they were seen as a prototype. As I was saying, you had a load of these cars were just prototypes. Now, by the time they got to Group S, they decided to lower the amount of homologation specials down from, I think it was 1,500 cars to about 1,000 or 500 even. It was a very low number, which meant that it was easier to kind of bluff your way to the top in terms of performance for cars. So as such, Audi came up with an advanced version of its Quattro. I forget what it was called, but it was an advanced version of the Quattro. Peugeot had the 405 T16, which later went on to compete in the Pikes Peak race. And Lancia came up with the Delta ECV1. The ECV part actually stands for electric current vehicle. That's because now the car was powered by an engine, a 16-valve engine I believe it was, that the Integrales were powered by. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong on this, but it was powered by an engine, but it also had electric boost technology. as a result, the thing was extremely quick, and for a prototype, it was mentally fast. Now, unfortunately, due to incidents that happened in 1985, I think, and 1986, I think it was Rally Corsica 85. I can't quite remember the top of my head, but basically there was an incident which involved a Ford RS200 going off the track, and basically he went off the track, hit a load of spectators, and unfortunately killed a load of marshals as well as innocent bystanders. Also, that is one of the races we're going to skip to make this thing faster. But yeah, so what had happened was an RS200 came off the road, especially with a lot of spectators, killing a few of them. I think it was like 20, maybe 30 people got killed during it. But the main thing that caused Group B to shut down was in 1986, I believe, at the Tour de Corse rally, as Henry Toivonen lost his life. I think it was Tour de Corse from what I remember. He was out front leading, lost control. Car went through an open wall, landed in a ravine. It hit a tree, which punctured the fuel tank. The fuel tank caused the car to explode, and Henry Toivonen and his co-driver unfortunately perished in the accident. And that was a dark day for the WRC, much like Ayrton Senna's death in Formula 1 in 1994. And as a result, Group B was officially dead. It was officially cancelled. And as a result, the next class that came in was Class N or A, I forget which one came first. I think it was A that came first. These were essentially cars that had been rebuffed down, and they had to be, like, the homologation specials were more a case of, right, okay, you need to make 50,000 cars instead of 500, and they need to be four-wheel drive, they need to be very safe, and yeah, and despite rallying's best efforts, tragedy still did happen. Michael Park in 2005 in the Wales Rally GB, I believe, perished in an accident as the car smashed straight into a tree on his side and killing him instantly. And quite recently we lost Craig Breen, I think it was, who did a shakedown in his car about 2 years ago, I think, and unfortunately lost his life. So rallying is still a very dangerous sport, more so than some other motorsports. I mean, motorsports itself in general is very dangerous, and it should not be laughed at. Yeah, in terms of rallying though, it was a case of the Group A class and Group N came into it. Audi didn't really have a car after the Quattro. They had supposedly it was called the Quattro A2, A200, or B200, I forget what the car was, but it was rubbish. Lancia, however, was cooking. And what had happened with Lancia, so Lancia had the Delta, the S4, but the Delta S4 was based off a road car that they had, called the Delta Integrale, 24 valve, or 24V for short. And to go long story short, when these new regulations came in, they was like, we might have a car that fits these regulations. Lo and behold, it did. And as a result, there you go. It was a case of, that was the start of a dominant period for Lancia, which allowed them to go on to win the World Rally Championship in the next 5 years, including the Constructors, which they won supposedly a record-breaking 4 years in a row. Now, I do believe that manufacturers have come and gone, but over the years, but at the same time, you know, things do come and go, manufacturers do come and go. And yeah, there you go. So it was a, like I said, in terms of rallying stuff, yeah, it has had its dark moments, like other motorsports have had. But when we got the Class A and Class N, cars like the Super Impreza came in, the Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution, the Toyota Corolla, the Citroen Zara, the Ford Escort RS Cosworth. Although the Escort Cosworth was more a thing in the early 90s, rather than the mid to late 90s. This turned into the Ford Focus in later years. And then obviously as we progressed through the 2000s, Skoda, Hyundai, just to name one or two manufacturers, also entered the fray. Peugeot obviously was back in again with the 206 and eventually the 307, I think. Citroen obviously entered its Zara, which did very well in the hands of Sebastian Loeb, who went on to win 9 WRC titles, a record that is still yet to be broken. And also the most amount of WRC records in history. Again, a feat that is yet to be broken. But in terms of cars, did you know that Ferrari had a rally car? I bet you didn't. It was the 308. It participated in the 1980s. It wasn't very quick because, well, it was a Ferrari. It's not meant for doing rallying. But Ferrari did actually make a rally car. Shock to the absolute surprise of everybody here, I'm sure. Funnily enough, I've actually got a model of it on my shelf. Yeah, there were some surprises. There was Proton, which was another one. For those that don't know who Proton was, they were a company in Malaysia that basically asked car companies, could we use your car and just say we did it? It was basically like, can we have your homework and say I did it? And they went, yeah, sure. So Mitsubishi actually gave their Lancer Evo, I think it was the Evo 3, to Proton, and Evo, might have as far as the Evo 4, 5, and 6, but Proton was around for a while. One of the cars they used was the Mitsubishi Charisma, but supposedly that was actually a rebadged Mitsubishi Evo 3, or the original Lancer, so there you go. There has been some right wacky rally cars over the years. You know, the two Datsun 240, I think, or the 270Z. Obviously, the most well-known ones, for those that are completely living under a rock, was like the Saab 90, I think. The Mini Cooper, of course, because, you know, it's the Mini Cooper. But there you go. So, now we have done that, we're going to move from the amateur into the professional class. So the way the Premier is split, and most classes are as well, they are split into 3 different levels: amateur, professional, and expert. The main goal of the classes is the main goal of the classes is to unlock the final and to win the final. Also, the AI are completely random, so expect a few argy-bargy moments. Now, I will just say as well that there is a strat that we're going to do towards the end of this run for the final. Now, we won't have to do it for the most part, so the RNG actually comes at the very end of this run. Now, that's a really bad place to put it, I know, but what we found out during this, just to kind of quickly cut back to this game and this run for the moment after nearly 17 minutes in, is that the way that this game is structured is you get 10 points for a win, but if you retire you still score a point. Now you need a minimum, I believe it's of 160 points. So as a result, I went through each class and was wondering, right, okay, what are the fastest races in here that I can do, and what are the slowest? What ones can I skip? So you'll find that we'll end up skipping quite a few races. This is what brought the category, when I originally did it, from, I think it was like 115 or something, down to a 106 in recent times. And yeah, you can do it for modified, and you can do it for masters. But I would not recommend doing it for the modified or the masters, especially masters, because of the fact that the AI is ridiculously quick, and you do need a fast car for that, and blocking certain opponents from winning is just outright tricky in amongst itself, so just be warned about that one. Now, I actually am going to say, from a speedrunner's perspective, this game is very difficult after you get through. I'd say once you get through modified can provide some challenge for the casual player. But when you've got to the Masters itself turns from like, oh hey, this game was a bit difficult but not too bad, to holy hell, this is difficult. When the hell did they turn the AI up to 11? And that's the point where you go, please help. How do I beat this? So, there you go. Also, this is the, in this event, we are going to be doing all 3 races in here. So we've just done Safari 3. We're going to move on to Alpine 2. And then we're going to go to Safari 2. Now, as I said, there isn't too much to explain in this game in terms of cars and things like that. But as I said, the Zara is a pretty good starting car. And you may be wondering why I've not used any of the more modern cars that are in this class, and why, when faster cars appear at the front, why I don't use them. Simple reason, it's honestly faster because here's the thing. In a good chunk of cars per class, the car that you pick has 3 tyre choices. I've barely mentioned this part of the run yet, I do apologise. So, in the car, when you pick the car, you also can pick the tyre. Now you can pick from a tarmac tyre, a rally tyre, and an all-road, all-rounder off-road tyre. Now, in a short while, we are going to get cars that are specifically specialist cars. So what specialist cars mean is that certain cars are tarmac tyres only, some are tarmac only, some are off-road tyre only, and some are rally tyres only. And as a result, there are a lot of cars that, you know, you can pick the tyres on a good chunk of cars, but what you'll find is, you might find that just because you picked a faster car, if it's got a slower tyre, you might find that you can do a better lap time or drive better with cars where you can pick the tyres. Which, in my opinion, is utterly ridiculous, but extremely funny that you can do that. So there you go. Also, I will be trying to bust the record barriers on these, the best lap records on here. Now, in terms of music for this game, it's not fantastic, it doesn't stand out too much. Realistically, the Sega Rally games, in my opinion, haven't had the best soundtracks. There are much better soundtracks for racing games out there. I don't just mean like, you know, your typical licensed racing games. I mean like, SegaCrew Rally 2, for example, even I say, that was made by Codemasters in 2000s, has circuit racing. And the soundtrack from that game is more memorable to me than the soundtrack from this game. The only thing that's memorable to me about the soundtrack is the main menu music, but again, that's just my opinion and my thoughts on it. But yeah, there you go. So that's the end of Alpine 2, sorry. And then we get Safari 2. Now I will just say as well, because this is a Sega Rally game, you would think the game over, yeah, thing happens. It actually doesn't, unfortunately. But fear not, because I have got the solution for you. So in Sega Rally 3, the arcade version, which you can choose to emulate, you can use something like Technopark to emulate it, or when you play it in person, you'll be playing with the same sort of engine and physics and everything like that for the cars. And he actually does say game over, yeah, like you would, you're like, game over, yeah, and yeah, that's the good compromise, I'd say. It's a shame they never actually included that in this, but then given you're never really on a time limit, you're racing against AI on a circuit race, it kind of says a lot. Excuse me. Now, whilst I'm on the topic of the games and stuff like that, I've not really mentioned much about the HD release, so we'll call this the standard release, and the HD release was the 360, PS3, and the PC release. So, what's the differences? Well, first and foremost, graphics, obviously. Secondly, game runs at 60 FPS rather than 30 on PC. I'm not sure about the consoles. Can't remember off the top of my head. Secondly, the next thing after that, sorry, is the fact that obviously load times are a bit longer. Although PC version is not too bad, realistically. The tracks are completely different, the environments look a lot better, and Also, the fastest car you pick for Premier is actually the Subaru. It is the first car. The Zara isn't actually as quick as it should be on here. Why the Zara is quick on here and the Subaru less so, I do not know, but I found that the Subaru is a lot more fun to drive on the PC HD release than this version. So, unsurprisingly, there's not many people that have run this version of the game, but obviously we do allow emulation if you want to play the PSP version, and as I said, we do have the leaderboards are split between PSP and PC 360 PS3 version of the game, so you won't be submitting the PSP release for this. There is a category for Premier, for Modified, and for Masters. And there is a 100% category should you wish to attempt to do everything in the game and do all three. There you go. It's there for you to witness. So that's that one. Nice. So we now move on to the VVC National Rally. So we get to see our first time into the Arctic scenery. Now, if you've got tarmac tyres, you'll probably find that this is a lot easier than it should be in terms of keeping the grip on and things like that. The rally tyres don't do nearly as good on here, so you've got to make the best of a bad situation. As I was saying, realistically, especially here, you've got to be careful because the AI will race you hard. I mean, that's what their job is, but you've also got like a few other bits and pieces as well. So, for example, I can hopefully do this. Nice, we can hopefully get past him. Can we get past him? That's the 206 gone. The 206, by the way, for those that were unaware, I think a lot of people have seen it. Very famous for Marcus Gronholm winning his 2 titles in it. There was a famous incident actually involving the Peugeot 206. So when Peugeot first entered the 206, they entered it in 1999, and it wasn't too bad, but in the following year, in 2000, something quite unfortunate happened. So, in 2000, when the first event of the season, which was Rally Monte Carlo, first came onto the scene, there was an unfortunate circumstance where they left the cars out overnight. Now the problem is the cars were out in -20, -30 degree conditions with no cover for the engines. As a result, what ended up happening was we ended up having the problem, or they ended up having the problem of, oh hey, it won't start. Why? The engine's completely frozen. So unfortunately they couldn't start the rally. This essentially meant that Peugeot had to pull out of the first rally of the season. It probably has happened on 1 or 2 occasions for rallies and things like that. But in 2000, it was an embarrassing defeat already. They already started that season on the back foot. And as a result, it was everything to do for Peugeot that year. Now, I won't say about how they won it or how they turned it around, but what I can say is the fact that they started a rally down, essentially, because of the car being left out in the cold, and that happened, just about says it all with how good that team worked together, realistically. So that's all good. So, with that first race done and dusted, we now move on to Tropical 2, which we are going to quit, like that, and we're going to move on to the third race in the rally. Again, that's why I was saying about skipping races. And the reason why we skip them is because of the fact that it is a bit on the slow side to do those. So the fun thing is that if you do 100% run, obviously you've got to do all those races. If you were to do all of the finals for all the classes and nothing else, it would take about 3.5 to 4 hours just short of it. 100% for this takes a little under 4.5, well, a little over, I think it was like less than 5 hours, about 4.5 altogether. I should know, I've done it. It wasn't the easiest run I've done on this game, far from it actually. But yeah, as I was saying, so in terms of like the Peugeot 206, it started on the back foot. and obviously all the competitors jumped on it and things like that. So how they won the championship that year is beyond me. The Zara, however, had an interesting entry. So it had already entered the WRC back in 2001. 2002 entered a two-car operation with Philip Bigalski and I forget who the second driver was, I can't remember off the top of my head. But for one event only, or two events actually during that, no sorry, for two events during that year, a young star named Sebastian Loeb jumped in and was surprisingly quick. So much so that when they chucked him in the Citroen Zara in Monte Carlo at the first round, he actually won it outright. However, Citroen broke the rules. They changed the tyres overnight, which is not allowed and it's illegal. As a result, they were disqualified. They were given a 30-second time penalty, for using replacing tyres outside of Parc Fermé. For those who don't know about Parc Fermé, it is basically a scrutineering section where once it's locked in, you can't change anything on the car, and they did do that. And yeah, but it was the start of something, and he was certainly a force to be reckoned with, and he showed them what he could do. Fast forward 1 year to 2003, and it was the start of Loeb's dominance. As soon as he entered WRC, he was dominant from the get-go. He won outright at Monte Carlo. He could have won the championship in 2003 and been a 10-time champion instead of a 9-time champion, but however, at the last round in Wales was told to back off and to hang back to preserve Citroen the manufacturer's title, and that they told him basically you'll get your chance next year. You will win a championship next year. There we are. So yeah, also we're moving on to the final event in the professional class. So you may notice now that we have unlocked the Peugeot 206, and as I was saying, one of the main things above all else is that when you unlock, so at the start of the events, you have a new car that's entered. So now, we've now got, instead of having the Peugeot, the Ford Focus and the Peugeot, we've now got this Andorra Racer, it's called. Now the Andorra Racer is actually a prototype, was never officially released as an official rally car, but Sega was nice enough to put the car in here. Some of the unlockable cars as well that you get in this game include cars from other games. So you get the, right near the end of the game, you get a Ford RS200, I think it's the RS200X, which is like extreme version, which is insanely quick. And as well, there is a nod to Hot Wheels in here too. It is one of the bonus cars that you can unlock, which is very, very cool and very unique. And yeah, just as a result, very, very cool. But yeah, in terms of like overall cars and things like that, there is a nice variety for a PSP game. You're not going to have, you know, it's not going to be like Gran Turismo 4 or whatever it is, where it's like, oh, we've got like 900 cars in this game. It's nothing like that. In fact, Gran Turismo came out 2 years after this, I think it was. It was 2009 when that released. Whereas this released in 2007. And at this point in time, Colin McRae Rally 2005 was on the market. So this game got put heavily in the shade back in the late 2000s. So in terms of like overall, yeah, in terms of like overall strength that this game had, it was very much underlooked, underrated, you know, sorry, overlooked, underrated, and a lot of people know about it, but a lot of people don't care for it, which I get that. You know, there are going to be games out there where you're going to be like, oh yeah, there's, you know, there's a game out there and people need to know about it. Truth be told, this is the first time that this has been shown at an event in quite a few years. I don't remember the last time I showed this off at a marathon event. So I was just going to say, like, right now, many thanks to SEGATHON for accepting this run. I wasn't sure if it would get in, but here we are. But funnily enough, whilst we're talking Sega Rally and cars and things like that, so in terms of this game itself, the Sega Rally series as a whole was also very similar to Outrun in the sense of what it tried to do. So obviously Outrun was about driving a Ferrari through the hillside and on beach roads and tropical roads and things like that. And it was cool and, you know, and that sort of thing. It was a new concept that was started in the 1980s. But Sega also hit this right on the head with this one because, like, as we know, excuse me, as we know, Sega Rally Championship released back in 1995. I think the arcade version may have released 94, but it released around 95-ish, around there. There was also a Game Boy Advance release of that game. I'll just point that out real quick for those interested. The game's not great, but for a game released in 2001, it's okay, I guess. But anyway, I sidetrack. So Outrun was about putting your money in and playing it over and over and seeing if you could beat your best time and for seeing which path you could take. Now, Sega Rally didn't do that. Sega Rally actually took things away from that. Sega Rally was, here's 2 cars, here's 3 stages, you've got to win and get to the top. But one thing I often found when I was a kid or when I was younger, and still even to this day, is how competitive and addictive that concept is, because it takes your money. Arcades are meant to do that. That's what an arcade machine does. Much like a pinball machine, it's what they do. And the main thing above all else was Sega Rally did what Outrun did, except it was a rally version. And the cars were less extravagant. But here's the thing. Here's the question to the audience, did it or did it not leave an imprint on your mind? Was it not a game that you looked at and went, oh, Sega Rally, I gotta play that, I want to see if I can still beat it? Even though it's like 3 and a bit minutes. I often feel that's what it did. That's what Sega is good at doing. They're good at leaving, says this Marathon's proof, they're good at putting games into your mind and making them stick. Crazy Taxi's World Digger, yes, very much so. It's definitely one of those as well. And there were games that made you just want more. That's what they did. I'm not getting at anything here, by the way. I'm just saying, like, Sega Rally was never overlooked. It was never overrated, but it wasn't underrated. It was a weird one. Sega Rally never, funnily enough, Sega Rally never outstayed its welcome. Neither did Outrun. It came, it saw, it conquered the racing world in an arcade-ish sense, and then disappeared again. But do you know what? Despite the fact that we haven't had a new Sega Rally properly in probably over a decade now, and again, maybe the same with Outrun, that's not exactly a bad thing. The gaming world would love, I'm sure, myself included, would love to see a brand new Outrun and a brand new Sega Rally. I would love to see it release. But how do you go forwards when you're already at the front? Sega Rally 3 was about as high quality as it gets. Anything higher than that, and you're probably going into simulation territory. Not only that, what is quite sad nowadays, I find, is that the arcade racing scene, if it is more down to indie developers than it is actual publishers, main publishers, you know, like Sega and stuff like that. But it does make you wonder, and it does make you think that, you know, just what could possibly happen if a new Outrun and a new Sega Rally was made. I know what would happen. It would be a case of we would all get excited and go, oh, that's cool, actually. I didn't think they could improve Outrun, or they'd make a new Outrun or a new Sega Rally. But how do you think the racing game world would treat it? I could probably tell you, oh, it's not got HD graphics, it's not 4K. oh, the handling system's rubbish, it's arcade-like, I wanted simulation. That is the main problem with racing games. They all go for this simulation, and Trackmania is probably about as close as it gets at the moment. It's the main thing that's probably keeping the arcade racing thing going in terms of like the AAA games industry, rather than the indie scene. But the indie scene has come out with some great games over the years. It really has. Also, we have a new car, and we now move on to... There we go. We now move on to the expert class, as I was said. So we've got the expert class done and dusted. Well, sorry, the professional class done and dusted. We now move on to expert. So we've only got a few races to do here. Now, as I will say as well, real quick, is that there is only... There are, I think it's 15 tracks in the entire game, maybe 16 at a push. So you'll see a good chunk of the same ones for this. In the modified and masters class, you'll see the canyon tracks show up, and also, surprisingly enough, they left a little bonus in this game for those that like Sega Rally. So, when they made Sega Rally 3, they also did something else as well. And what they did, this will probably shock you with what they did, but what they did was they made a brand new version of Lakeside. Now, this is could probably be seen as slightly controversial, but personally, I think it's a nice gesture that they actually took the time to remake and create a brand new version of Lakeside. It is not exactly the same, in fact, far from it, the same Lakeside that we had from the original Sega Rally, but it is an unlockable track in here. Some of the tracks are very difficult to, to get through. I won't lie, like I said, in Modified and Masters. But if you've got the right car for the job, and by the time you get to Masters, you should be getting a lot better at the game, realistically. If you've got past Modified, then Masters should have you trained by then. So just keep a mind out for that one. But yeah, obviously the cars get faster, the tracks get a bit more complicated, there's more corners and things like that. Excuse me. Yeah. It's kind of all I gotta say with Sega Rally Revo. There is a bit more, I suppose, which is the fact that it was also developed, the PSP version anyway, was developed by Bugbear Entertainment. This was a company that later went on to develop Wreckfest, for those that are familiar with that, and also helped develop the Flatout games. Now, that to me makes complete sense, because the way that the cars handle is very similar to that of Flatout Head-On, which was released for the PSP. It might even be the same engine, I do not know. I could be completely wrong on that. But, there you go. The more you know. Across the line. There we go. Good stuff. I will actually mention we're getting a lot of gold splits on this run, so either my driving's really good or I was just talking too much garbage in practice. The thing is, as well as me talking and things like that, is that yeah, we're not doing too bad right now in terms of gameplay. Like I said, it is mainly the case of, as I was saying, it is mainly the case of doing circuit races and things like that. Now, fun fact about this, so the Andorra racer absolutely hates the snow, so we are going to use that as a chance to get past them. Now, the Hummer, this thing, I shouldn't be able to barge this thing out of the way, but in this game, you can, surprisingly. And you can block it too, which is pretty neat. Excuse me. Truth be told, this is the first time I've heard this soundtrack in years. I usually have it turned off whenever I've done runs because I have my own music playing, so... This is a first for you guys and a first for me, too. As I was saying, Sega Rally was one of those games, the game series, that just... It sticks with you. It might not be a case of... You know, nowadays it might be seen as just cast aside. It's like, oh, that game was short, wasn't it? It's like, yeah, but it was an arcade game. It's meant to be short. It's like Outrun. It's meant to be short. It's meant to swallow up your quarters or your 50p's or your pounds or whatever. It's that's what they're meant for. They're meant to be short. I mean, there are games like Metal Slug and stuff like that. I know it's not racing related. You know, there are games like that that are to do with, you know, that. With other disciplines or other genres, and they suck your money dry as well. But the thing is that Metal Slug can be finished in probably like 15-20 minutes. Outrun can be finished in less than 5. Sega Rally can be finished in less than 3. Unless you're doing the 3-lap mode, then it's about 10. But I digress. It doesn't matter. The point is that you pay for what you get. And if I can ask this question to chat, but did you come away from... For those that have played Sega Rally, Crazy Taxi, or even Outrun, can't think of the name of the damn thing then. Did you come away, or did you go back again because you knew you could beat your time? That's what I'm intrigued to ask. That's what I'm intrigued about. That is the main thing I'm intrigued about. Did it keep you coming back? Was it something that kept you coming back? And that's what it did. It did its job. Sega did their job. I'm not saying they don't do their job, by the way. I'm just saying that game did its job. A lot of people will complain nowadays that games are too short and that they want longer games. Don't get me wrong, I've been on the side of I shouldn't be able to finish a game in 3 hours. I should be able to take like 15-20 hours to finish a game. And it shouldn't be broken at release and yada yada yada. But Sega Rally wasn't about that. Sega Rally's concept is simple. It is, here's a rally car, here's 3 stages, you've got to beat them, and that's it. You're done. It doesn't take too much of your time. It lets you get back to whatever you were doing. And above all else, it sends you away of... I suppose in some cases, it can send you away with a feeling of accomplishment. Which, in my opinion, means it did its job. That's what it did. Yeah, high scoreboards are like the currency. Now, take a game like Metal Slug. Now, I'm going to use Metal Slug here because it's one that I remember a lot when I used to go to arcades. It was always a Metal Slug machine. I liked Metal Slug. I liked its concept. I liked its gameplay. But it never got me going back to it as much as it did with Sega Rally or Crazy Taxi. You could say, well, that's because you're a racing fan, so, you know, I'm like, yeah, that probably is true, but the concept is simple. When you're playing something in a game like Metal Slug, you're doing really well, you keep progressing, but to finish Metal Slug, it takes anywhere between 15 to 30 minutes, it just depends. Like, I don't remember saying to someone, I'll have a quick game of Metal Slug, and then be with them like 5 minutes later. Or being able to play against someone. You can play with someone on Metal Slug, which usually makes the game way easier. But something like Outrun, you're able to do 4-player on some machines. You're able to, you know, you're able to play 4-player and everything like that. It's one of them. There we go. Also, sorry for the loading screens, by the way, but there we go. But either way, I digress. It is just one of them things. So, fun one as well, I'm just going to quickly mention, is that there is a car in the Premier class. There's a few cars, actually, that's in the Premier class that you can unlock. One of which is the Mini Cooper, and another one is the Mitsubishi Concept X. I've not really mentioned this yet, but yeah, the Mitsubishi Concept X is a Mitsubishi Evo 10 concept. It was before the Evo 10 was released, hence the name and description. And yeah, it is a very fast car in the Premier class. So much so that you want to make sure he doesn't get too far up. But it is a thing. Now, in the finals, by the way, just to kind of return to this run after a little bit ago. So after we've done the expert stuff, we finally unlock the finals. What will happen is the final is split into 4 races. The winner is whoever comes out on top in those 4 races. Now, what we're going to deliberately try and do is we are deliberately going to stop the Hummer from scoring any sort of points. We are then going to try and stop the Evo from getting any good points as well, and making sure that he finishes at least 3rd. Once that's done, everything else is fair game. The last 2 races, the other 2 races are fair game. One race that will be starting and ending will finish exactly as it starts, and that is what's bound to happen. I will just mention as well, for the record, is that even if I come 2nd here, the run will still be counted as complete. It just won't be valid because we have to win the final in that regard. So just be aware of that going forward in the not so distant future. But yeah, as you may be able to tell, I unfortunately have way too much knowledge when it comes to racing games and stuff like that. Yeah, I have way too much knowledge when it comes to racing games, but hopefully my knowledge is entertaining and insightful as it can be and isn't too boring for you guys, so... Oops. There we go. Okay, so we've got Alpine 2, Arctic 2, and then we have another race as well. So what we'll be doing here, again, we've got 3 races altogether. I believe we do skip the last one, so we're going to do this one and the next race, and then once we're done with that, we then move on to the finals, and that will be the run done and dusted. Just to kind of quickly mention, so a few things that people should just thoroughly know, straight first and foremost, is I know that this is stuff that you say for the end, but if the AI could not bash me about, that would be fantastic. For those that have tuned in to watch both of these runs today, I will just say as a heads up, thank you very much. I do racing game speedruns, as well as a few others as well. You can find me over at ViperRaces. I know this is stuff to save to the end, but I'll just get this out there now. I'll echo it more towards the end of the towards the end of the run anyway. Nice physics with that cone there. But yeah, I mainly do racing games of that sort, so you can always find me over there. I've been getting into a load of new games as well. I've been playing through a few indie games. I've talked to the indie games industry quite a lot in the last year or so. I've been trying other racing games as well. Recently I did Need for Speed Porsche Unleashed for the PS1, which was a 2.5-hour behemoth. Was a record by quite some margin. Still pending, of course, but the run is on YouTube, so there's that. What else? Yeah, if you want to find me, you can always find, as I said, you can find me over at ViperRaces. But I do other games as well. For example, when I did the SEGATHON event last year, I participated in it with House of the Dead 4 and Sega GT 2002, where I think I had Kinsey Kenzie on commentary with me for that one. Also, shout outs to Kinsey Kenzie for that one, and Broken Hyperlink as well. My partner in crime. Hopefully she put on a great show for you guys yesterday, and she's probably watching now, and if she is, she knows I love her very much, so... Anyway, yeah, so as I was saying, so Sega Rally Revo, as I said, released... I said this at the start, but just to kind of echo again, is that it released back in 2007, and as I said, you can find the game. I believe you can still pick this game up in bargain bins and things like that. So if you want to pick this game up, I believe it's relatively cheap. As I said, if you have emulator, which is PPSSPP, which is what I'm using, you can use that to run this as well. And yeah, because we do allow emulator runs. I know that capturing a PSP isn't the easiest thing in the world sometimes, so yeah. But yeah, feel free to give this run a try, and if you wish to do so. As I said, for the most part, don't do it with the points, the skipping races stuff like I'm doing, unless you're absolutely confident that you can win all the other races, and you can do everything you need to. Just like throwing that out there. Also, these guys are fighting hard, which is bringing me into the fray here. These guys really didn't think this one through, did they? Like, we'll fight, yeah. Well, unfortunately, that means that I will win then. Sorry, folks, you're holding each other up. That does me. That just lets me slide through, so that's all good. So this is actually going to be the last race of the run. It's not the last race right now, so we don't have to get worried about time. But it is the last race in the finals when we do that. So you will be seeing this race one more time. And yeah, that's kind of all I have to say regarding the races. We do have a race coming up after this, which we are going to skip. And that is going to allow us to go straight to the final. To which we are going to be stopping the Hummer. We're going to be taking the Hummer down. We're going to take it downtown. And yeah, so we're going to take the Hummer down and then make sure that the Evo doesn't score many points either. It does require a lot on the AI not doing well, the points manipulation. Like, I know how the score is for the third race when I skip it, so I never have to worry about that. But I do have to worry about the potential final race, although the Hummer seems to always have that in the bag, so yeah, we'll see how that one goes. But as long as I win the last race, we should be fine, and we should have enough points to win the overall championship. Like I said, even if I finish second, even if I finish second, it is a case of we'll see what happens. So on the first race, we are going to stop the Hummer. We're also going to make sure that the Evo is lowered down to lowered down to third at least. So I'm going to go into this race, and then we're going to skip it. There we go. And that's it. And then we move into the finale, which is here. There we go. So this is where this is where the RNG comes in now. So the Hummer is the car we need to stop, but we also need to make sure that the Mitsubishi Lancer is going to be down in third place by the time this race finishes. If I play my cards right, that should be doable. The Evo itself is half the problem, the other half being the Hummer doing its thing as well. And I have to slow it down enough, I have to stop the Hummer enough that it will essentially just stop dead. And now, unfortunately, I have to get past the Hummer to stop it. Like that. There we go. It's down, and then we're going to skip like that. So the Hummer's now been stopped. If I so desired, I could get him stuck on a wall or something, but that should be enough, even if he works his way past the guy here. That's fine. He's now at the back, but now what I need to do is shove the guy who's in the lead, which is the Evo. I need to shove him through to... I need to shove him down into third place by stopping him and letting the Andorra Racer take over. And if I play my cards right, this shouldn't be too hard. Then I should be fine. So unfortunately, it took me a bit longer to stop the. It took me a bit longer to stop the Hummer, so we might have a bit of trouble here. I need to stop the Evo. The reason why I need to stop the Evo is because he's there we go. There we go. The more I can stop him, the better. Now what I need to do is catch up to the Andorra Racer and make sure that I still win. And make sure that that Evo doesn't catch up. So I now need to make this the cleanest pass in history. Which it will not be, which it will be. Now, the Hummer is in 5th and the Evo is in 3rd. As a result, it means that I can now hopefully sleep happy. And that's how you manipulate the AI. Now this is where the time loss comes from, manipulating them all. So we're going to get through there like that. And that's going to be the end of that one. And that's all good because the next race, which will be Alpine 1, we just do this as normal. We'll then be skipping the 3rd race, and finally we'll have the final race where we'll be trying our best to make sure that the cars will be lined up in our favour. Now you can see at the front that it's absolute carnage. The Evo and the Hummer are battering each other. Luckily that's not really going to be our problem much. The Hummer should pass the Evo, to be honest. The Andorra Racer, I don't really know if it will do anything, but it is certainly something, that's for sure. As far as I'm aware. Because the Evo is a tarmac tyre runner, and as a result, for those that don't know, the tarmac tyre runners are not nearly as quick, whereas the Hummer is fairly slow, but it's quick off-road, so here we go. So on the tarmac now, you'll see that the Evo is now going to catch the... it will now catch the Hummer. Now I can, if I so desire, I can punt the... Oh, I don't even have to do that. The Evo does it itself. Now I just want to make sure that I get past the Hummer as clean as I can. Because the thing is, the Hummer needs to stay second. And I don't want to be getting in its way, nor do I want to get punted off by it. So we're going to just leave it be. It could fight for second, like that. As I was saying though, the Hummer is fitted with the all-terrain tyre. And as a result, it's nothing to worry about. It's a case of that will finish second. And I know it will finish second. It will be very close towards the end, but it will finish second. Mainly because of the fact it's good on its tyres. I say it's good on its tyres, it has the grip. The Evo catches up in the tarmac sections, like here, but for the most part, yeah, that's where the Hummer comes into it. So we should be all good. And then obviously we've got the final race where anything can happen. So, and then that'll be it. Time will be when I cross the finish line. So it'll probably be in about 4 minutes, I'd say, after this. Because like I said, I've got to get through this race first. Then we've got to get through this race, and then we've got to skip the 3rd race, and then, like I said, we have to win the last one. And the last one will be utter carnage, I'm sure it always seems to be, for some odd bloody reason. There we go. And there we go. And cross the line. And that was a gold split by a few seconds, so there's potential. Okay, so third race. That's the third race done and dusted. And now we get into the last one. So the last one is where the nitty-gritty gets sorted out. So this is it. This is what it comes down to now. Not only have I got to get past all the AI that stand in my way, but I've also got to make sure that I don't do too bad getting past the AI that's in my way. So I expect this to be a bit chaotic. Not too bad. Nothing too bad. Oh, okay, that was close enough. Should have kept it on the tarmac there. The rally tyres aren't the greatest on tarmac, but there you go. Hopefully. Okay, so I can get past the Andorra Racer just fine. There we go. Meanwhile, up at the front, it's the Hummer versus the Evo for the lead. The Hummer's taken the lead, it would seem. Now, the thing is, the Evo will struggle on the snow, so for me, that's where I can make the most of it. And use the tyres to my advantage here. Like that. And also the wall riding, yes. The Hummer, on the other hand, is a completely different ballgame. He's very tricky to get past, although if I just barge my way through like that, no one saw that, it's fine. You can just barge your way through. So yeah, so time is going to be when I cross the line on the final lap of this, so it's in about a minute's time, so if you want to be ready on time. And I'm not going to lie, this could be very frigging close. I don't know how close, but very, to my PB, potentially. Which is going to be insane if it is, because I don't expect this run to PB. I didn't expect it to PB. We had a few gold splits on the way, so might be a second off or something, but we'll see. I'll make do with what I got. We'll see what we get. So yeah, if we're ready on time, 30 seconds to go. I'll happily take 2 PBs in one go. And time is coming up. It'll be when I cross the line, as I said. Time. And we did. We won. So that counts. That run counts. Yes. Prove it. There's first. As a result, there's the gold final. There's the Concept X, the Mini Cooper S concept, and there you go. And to prove it, there it is. That's the proof. So, that was a 2-second PB, and it was also a 2-second world record, because I hold the record too. So, record, PB, whatever. I couldn't be happy with that. I didn't think that that would happen. I generally didn't expect me to PB by 2 seconds, but like nearly 3. At one point I was 5 seconds up. I lost a bit of time in the last bit, but holy hell. That was way underestimate as well, which is a good thing. But yeah, as I was saying, I'll just give out a few closing thoughts real quick. So first and foremost, if you want to give this game a try, you can pick it up on PSP. If you want to do the PSP version, that is. And yeah, you can use emulation, or if you want to use the console, feel free to do it. I would recommend emulation because it's faster. Load times, it looks better too. So that's the first thing. Second thing, there are a lot of different categories you can try. Premier, Masters, Premier, Modified, and Masters. Feel free to give any of them a try. There is also a 100% category. Next thing, the game is available on the 360, the PS3, and the PC as well. That's all under its own discipline. Feel free to give that a try if you wish to tried the HD remake, or the HD release. The runs are about twice as long though, just be warned, they're about 2 hours instead of an hour for Premiere. Modified and Masters are about the same, with 100% being about 6 hours instead of an hour, like 4.5, 5 hours. So just be a bit aware of that. Next thing, if you want to give Sega Rally 3 a try, I know this is a bit of a weird shout, feel free to give that game a try because it was made of, I think, the same engine. That is an arcade title and you can get it via Technopower or whatever you want to use for arcade emulation. Feel free to give that a try, that is also another great game, but that is more like the classic Sega Rallies. There is also Sega Rally Online Arcade, I just want to quickly mention, which is a PS3 online Xbox Live exclusive. Nowadays you'd have to mod your consoles to get that, but feel free to give that a try. It's basically Sega Rally 3 on console, and that's another category, another board and everything like that. Lastly, like I said, I'll give a few shout-outs to my own community. Big thanks to all those that have supported me recently with a few things that have been going on, but also thank you for those that are just that tune and watch me all the time. Feel free to give me a follow over at ViperRaces if you wish to do so. No harm if you don't want to. Like I said, I do mainly racing, but I have done speedruns and other stuff. Many thanks to SEGATHON for allowing me to participate in their event with not 1 but 2 runs. Glad to see they were both PBs as well, so that's really good. And then lastly, last but not least, you know, like I said, just many thanks to all you guys for watching and just being there and chat, and for the kind words regarding my commentary. I ramble a lot and I try and keep it informative because I know race games aren't the most exciting ones in the world, but hopefully I've kept things interesting the whole way through this. I tried my best. After all that though, I think it's time for a lie down from me. I'm going to get myself a drink because I'm going to need it after all that talking. Bloody hell. But yeah, thank you very much again once again to SEGATHON for having me, and I will see you guys around hopefully in the next one. So until then, thanks for watching, and I'll hand you guys both over to